don't project your feel on the client. Just because you feel this way, the client might feel totally different. So don't project it on them.
Don't project your feelings. That's a really good one. I love that. Kathy? Yes, that's one of my favorite bold laws. I love that. Simonetta. Getting minute better instead of focusing on being 50% better, just being a little bit better each day compounds. I love that. Stefan, and then we'll go to Drakey.
The average millionaire has 7 revenue streams. I don't know if Stephen, the instructor, just referenced that in general, or if that's part of bold, but the average millionaire has 7 different lines of business. So you might have a real estate office, an escrow company, a mortgage company, if you're a broker. You might have your probate business, your fast clients, etc. So for me, that was one of the things that jumped out what he said. But if I may, I took away Marie Hoffman, who's one of the top agents in the company. She hosted an event at her house for everybody involved. Allowed everybody involved to come to her house for a lunch, and I just thought that was the coolest, the warmest thing that could have happened. And then the last day, I forgot to bring my lunch. And I ate so much that day because everybody was offering me food.
Aww.
Right? And you know, business is business and we all have a lot of growth to do, but the fact that we're able to do it together, you know, call me sentimental, but I just think that's a beautiful thing.
Oh, I love bold. Thank you, Stefan. That was great. Brandy.
Let's see. This bold, I would say be, do, achieve, because I need to do the work, and I actually did a lot of work this time around. So, and it paid off.
I love it. I love it. She's an escrow because of it. I love it. Drakey.
And I am implementing the DTD2 into my weekly note cards, so I don't miss anybody.
That's really good. The DTD2 is a way to contact your clients that you're not overthinking it. So you contact it alphabetically certain people each day. You learn that tactic in bold. I love that. Who else? Emma.
In anything, I think personally, business, relationships, to always remember there are 2 things that you can control. Mindset and action. I literally tell myself that every day. If there is one challenge I'm facing, something that didn't go right, okay, what can I control right now? My mindset and my actions. What am I going to do about it? And how am I going to react to it? So
yes.
These things are my Bible every day.
I love that. That's great, Emma. Richard, you snuck in. What's one thing you took away from bold this time? I'm going to chase you down, and then I'm going to go to the back of the room quick.
You know, it's interesting. Interesting. A lot of people know it was supposed to be Cody Gibson, big name, replaced last minute with Steven. I texted Steven after it was over. You did a phenomenal job. Not anybody could have stepped in there like that. I mean, imagine you're expecting Cody, someone else, and I don't think I would have stepped in place of to a room full of looking for Cody Gibson. I thought he did a great job. If
he did great.
You guys all have his number. Send him a quick text and let him know we loved it. You did a great job. Thank you for stepping in there because that took a lot of guts.
He did great. Thank you. Do you enjoy the picture, Richard? By the way, did you see it?
I came late. What was the question?
Just what's one thing you took away from bold?
I will say that this is my 3rd time technically going through bold, and I absolutely hated this program prior to this class. And I will say that thank you, Brandy, for encouraging me to attend and be present and actually give it my all this time. I did, and it has paid off. I remember that consistency is key here, and in doing so, you will find business. So
I love that. Yes, you are. Clap. Come on. Come on. Did we forget? It's just been a couple weeks. Did I miss anyone? Did I get anyone that was in bold? Or did I miss in bold? Okay, great. Hey, you guys, should more people take bold when it comes around again in the market center? Yes. Right? We do have a wonderful cake, you guys, to celebrate you. Summer and Dougie are going to be bringing that out and giving a little cut to make sure you don't run away from the team meeting after too quickly. But you guys, one big round of applause for everyone. Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication. I think that's really important. Let's welcome our newcomer. We have Brandy Resendez here. Brandy, why don't you stand on up? Yes, we're so excited to have you guys. Brandy, tell us in like 1 or 2 sentences, tell us a little bit about yourself. Good. We're excited to have you, Brandy. She's been great. She's going to be working with Leslie back there. So excited to have you on the team. So just FYI, guys, if you don't see your closings here, we're getting some of them closed out today. So it's going to be included in next week, okay? So just in case you're missing some. We've got Harry up here. Congratulations, Harry. The Shannon Jones team. Julia DeVere ×3. Leslie Campos. Penelope Monte. Anthony Nguyen. And SD, what does that equal, you guys? 3,725,000. Congratulations, you guys. So excited. Let's take a look at our new listings that we have right now. Joni Marshall has a new listing on out in the Palm Desert on Ashbury Court. It's listed for $849, 3-bed, 2-bath. Emil team has a listing on Alderwood in Seal Beach. It's listed for $311,000. It is a 2-bed, 1-bath. Ellison Bedwig has a listing on East Silva Street in Long Beach. It's listed for $799,900. It's 3-bed, 2-bath. Live Distinctively has a new listing out in Oceanside on El Camino Real. It's listed, I think there are a couple different units if I remember correctly, because she's selling 2 different townhouses. So the price is basically that range from $675 to $725. Lindsay Iskerk and Ashley Undercuffler have a listing out in Simi Valley. It's listed for $775 and it is a 3-bed, 2-bath. We have Michelle Harding's listing in Sugarloaf. Congrats, Michelle. I know you are that Big Bear girly. We're listed at $389, 2-bed, 1-bath. Maggie Shapiro has a listing on Castana Avenue in Paramount. It's listed for $760 and it's a 3-bed, 1.5-bath. Stacy Ocampo has a listing on Urbana Avenue. It's listed for $849.9 and it's 3-bed, 2-bath. Pat, I don't know if Pat's here. I saw him in the office earlier. Okay, Pat has a listing in Orange. It's listed for $780 and it's a 3-bed, 2.5-bath. Drakey, you want to pitch your listing?
This came on the market today. We're having our premier open house this weekend. I got a team for Saturday and a team for Sunday, along with some people shadowing. It's got great square footage. It's got a gigantic family room off the back, which kind of makes it stand out from everything else on the market. But should be a quick sale. So if you know anybody looking for a 3-2 with lots of space, bring it by this weekend.
Congrats. Bring it by this weekend. I love it. Okay, guys, listing pitches, buyer needs. Does anyone have any listings to pitch? Buyers needed properties. Alice.
Listing's been on the market since Friday. Duplex in Belmont Shore. It's literally a half a block from the sand. It's a 3-2 up, 2-1 down, listed at $179.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you.
I have one, Halley. It's Cindy.
Yes. Cindy Hinderberger, yes.
I have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo in Bixby Knolls, and it's listed at $555.
555. Great. Contact Cindy Hinderberger. I love that. Who else has a listing? Stefan, a buyer need. Then Janet.
For that townhouse in Signal Hill. We got the listing agreement and everything worked out. So we're going to the market on Thursday. Open house on Friday and Saturday. It's going to be priced at $599. The last comp was $631. $225 a month HOA, which makes it very attractive. So 2537 California Avenue. It's 2-car garage.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, Janet.
Yeah, I have two buyers. One is looking in the South Bay, either Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, or Redondo Beach. 2 bedroom, 2 bath, looking for a condo or a townhouse. And I have another buyer that is looking for a multi-family house with like maybe a triplex, something like that. Kind of Belmont Shore, Belmont Heights type of area. They want to put like the whole family in. So
Oh, exciting. Contact Janet Darrow. Jason.
Portfolio in Torrance that's going to be going on the market soon. So if you have investors who are looking to sell individually, and then we also have, as part of our last portfolio sale or rental, which is a house here on Studebaker, the portfolio that we've been selling over the last 2 years, last one, the rental property to go. It's 3 bedroom, bath. Dollars. Take that close escrow. And then we have another portfolio in San Diego working on right now that will sell here soon, probably next month. That's price of that is 2 sister properties. I believe there are about 65 units per nice combo. We get one information for investors.
Awesome. Congratulations. Great job.
Someone that has got $2 million. Well,
Yeah, depending on which one they want to buy or what kind of budget they have.
yeah,
Correct.
Great. Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Anyone else? Emma. Great.
the bus one.
All right. And we're just going to get this reloaded here. Hang on one second, guys. Yep. Okay, let's bring up. So I know we talked about Mega Camp last week, you guys. Many gave us the market stats, but there's a lot more that we have to share with you. So if you guys want to come on up here, start making your way on up here. So we wanted to share some of our notes, some of our takeaways and things like that that we had that thought you guys, we thought might be really valuable for you. Yeah, Richard, don't pretend like you. There we go. So anyways, we'll go ahead and share, you guys. We've got Tony, Dougie. Come on up here, Dougie. Yep. Go ahead and stand up here. Great. Okay, so who wants to get started? Why don't we start over there with Richard or Tony? You guys just make sure you can be seen too. Yeah, why don't you come stand? That sounds great. Yeah, I'll move this way.
Are you camera shy?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Trying to get used to it.
Great. Since he's so shy, Richard, why don't you go ahead and kick us off there? What are some of the takeaways and things like that you've got from, there we go. Just pass it around. You can just kind of hold it
Are
near
we
you.
just sharing all of our takeaways? Because there's gonna be no.
Why don't you
Well,
start with some of your top ones? There?
I'll just start with my top ones. I mean, Phil Jones is always great, and this mega camp they didn't talk a whole lot. I thought than what I expected as far as buyer agency agreements and buyer commissions, except for when Phil Jones was talking about really the 4 things that differentiate major brands: Starbucks versus Dunkin', or
Yes.
Walmart versus Saks, whatever. And it's really experience, process, purpose, and pricing. And he said something that I thought was brilliant. He said, "Be proud of your price." Yeah, be proud of it.
Yeah.
Whatever you're going to charge a buyer, whatever charging a seller, be proud of it. I know when someone asks us, "So how much do you charge?" We may say a whole spectrum of things, such as, "Well, it's negotiable. Well, I'll charge this, but I may be able to go down here." But just we have a saying that we say in our team is, say it and don't flinch.
Mhm.
First one that flinches loses, you know, and when you negotiate, you want to say it, you don't flinch, you don't look away, you look him right in the eyes, and you just say it. So I love that. Another team that was up there, they do these open houses on a crazy level where they get an ice cream truck. And they'll have an ice cream truck at every single open house. And mind you, these are several open houses. They'll hire these ice cream trucks to be there. They make it a big event. But one thing that stood out was when they don't have an open house that week, they still get the ice cream. They book an ice cream truck 52 weeks out of the year.
Mhm.
They book it a year in advance and they just make it a community event. And in fact, I actually met the team leader of that market center, and she actually said they're trying to actually buy the ice cream truck company.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, there's like, dude, let's just-
Vertical integration
let it
there. That's
decide.
what that is. A
So
good
the-
example.
yeah.
Can you put the mic on your lapel where
Yeah.
people are having a hard time hearing? Thanks.
So they're in the process of trying to do that. And then the last thing, there's a panel with Jeff Glover talking about pricing your home. And Jeff Glover says something that I just love. When you're talking to a seller about how to price their home, and of course, there may be sellers that are like, well, can I just start off high? Just so that I have room to negotiate. Let me just start off high. Days on market is the enemy to your home's value. So I love that.
It's so true.
Yep.
Awesome. Who else has any ahas? Maybe from the Phil Jones from that day? Just kind of holds. Yep. Hold the lapel kind of near there. You're fine.
Yeah, this is my first event, Keller Williams event. So thanks to the you guys.
How was it? Was it awesome?
Oh yeah, it was really it was like a fire hose kind of situation for me.
course.
Obviously not as much as Richard, but like obviously it was so much. It was just like so many different topics they talked about from the open house. People who were really successful with that, the expired calls, and obviously the Phil Jones was just really eye-opening, just kind of give you a different perspective, like Richard explained, about kind of positioning yourself, like anticipating what the client needs and kind of be that person that provides the solutions. Just be that person, being a specialist, not a generalist. But there's so much value that we could provide if you become that specialist on a particular. I mean, you don't have to. There's all these different kind of problems. But if you could be that one person, could just be the master of solving that one problem, there could be so many different opportunities, and it's all about anticipating, knowing the answer for those. So I think that was very eye-opening.
I love that. I'm going to tack onto that too, Tony. So one of the things that Phil really dug into was creating your actual specialty. And you may have some reservations in the room when you say, well, hang on a second, if I specialize in something, or if I focus on marketing myself to one particular thing, am I not excluding all the other people out of my business? And the thing he said was brilliant, where he said, if you, sorry, my notes just went away literally as so he said something really brilliant, that if you specialize and you shoot for the specialization, you actually encounter and encumber everything else a part of it. But when you choose to shoot for the general, or when you choose to specialize in the general, you're missing the specialty client. Do you guys follow me? So just because someone, I used Allison Van Wyck, for example, her being #1 in Lakewood, does that mean she's not going to get a listing in Long Beach? No. Right? It means that you're still going to be a professional and show that. So I just wanted to pinpoint on that. He also used a technique that was called the 3x3, which was really good. And he said, identify the top 3 groups of people and or clients in your business that you're currently helping and or feel that you can be of most value to, and then come up with the 3 main pain points that they have. So for example, don't just say, I specialize in relocation. What do you really specialize in when you're helping someone to relocate? You're specialized in helping someone, because who's normally the client that needs to relocate? Like say move across the country. Who's that client, you guys? Who's that client that like in 2 weeks needs to move across the country? Who is that? A business professional, right? That probably has an already high paying job that's already back there. So when you say I help relocation, it's not specific enough, because if you specialize in helping high net worth individuals move across the country who need to sell their property in a quick time and need to get over there in as quickly as possible, that's the true problem you're solving. Does that make sense? So yeah, employ the 3x3 method. I love that. Who else? Does someone else have anything to tack on to that? Yeah.
They have like their notes. They came ready. 3 things from me. Number 1, I wasn't able to get the t-shirt, but Gary had
Do the work.
do the
we got-
work
Yep.
t-shirt, which is kind of nice, right? Just to get stuff that are just the bottom line, really. And in the lines of do the work is the 5 goals of real estate sales sprints. I'm sure if you recall that, because everything needs to be measurable. We can talk all day long. If you don't have a GPS, if you don't have a plan where you want to go, what you want to hit, and it's got to be measurable, like what we call SMART goals, it's going to be very hard to get anywhere, right? At least consistently. So if you want to write this down, number 1 is that you want to track consistently all the time. Number 1 is number of leads.
Yes.
What's the number of leads I have right now? Number 2 is number of seller agreements. Number of seller agreements. Those are, contracts with sellers, right? Number 3 is number of buyer agreements. And right now it's going to be very easy to measure because you're going to have the signed BRBCs or the other types of forms, right? Depends how exclusive or non-exclusive they are. Number 4, it's number of transaction closed, right? That's the track record of what you leave behind. And by the way, that can be measurable year to date or by your anniversary, by your cap, right? And number 5 is GCI, gross commission income. That's actually like how much you actually earned, which is one of the nice perks with us is that you really have the cap, right? So you're going to keep in your pocket way more, in comparison to what's out there, right? So you have to have those 5 measurables consistently without any pressure, but just to know like where you're at right now and where you're heading, and then you can see how far apart you are. And like right now, we have only a few more months for the year, right? 4 months. So what can I really do by the end of the year to catch up with my goals, or maybe if I'm almost there, over exceed? So that's gotta be measurable and consistent all the time.
Benny, Phil said the solution along the lines, the solution at the end of the day to most of our business difficulty is that we're missing people. We're either missing appointments, we're missing leads, we're missing transactions. Most likely there's a prescription to that. And that's when, we can really identify that when we're running our numbers. I love that. What about you, Simon and Dougie?
So this was my first mega camp. At first. I was privileged to be there for just half a day. Unfortunately, I had to fly back to California, so I didn't get most of all of the content. But one of the things, and just kind of piggyback of what Manny was saying, do the work. That really resonates with me on the daily grind. Gary also did mention about, all of the NAR stuff. It was only a small percentage of it, and then he moved on to bigger and better things. So for me, the way I think is we're going to be okay, folks, regardless of all the chaos, regardless of all the rumors, regardless of everything that is going upon us right now, the confusion, the unknown, the this, the that, we're going to be okay. All right. The dust will eventually settle, folks. And Gary said it very well. It's going to be okay. Let's just move on to the next one. Right. So that was one of my biggest takeaways. So
I love that. Thank you, Simon. Dougie, how about you?
I have a couple. Well, this is my, I think, 12th mega camp. And so one thing that I really value about these trips is that you start to build relationships, not just with your office, your teammates that you're going with, but also there's a referral network out there. So as we were sitting, in the convention center, at lunch, at dinner, literally people will come up to you and they'll hand you a gift. They'll give you their card. They'll give you these cute little trinkets. And it's something that is used to remember them, right? So you bring home all these cards, you enter them in your database, and now you have a referral network. So when somebody's moving to New York or Florida, you have a contact that you've actually met, and you did the research on them, you looked how much production they had, but at least there was a face-to-face connection. And so that's a really valuable experience. And so the other thing is, like, when we go to dinner, we take classes together, we go to the meetings together, you're really bonding with your fellow teammates. And so on such a different level, it's great that you guys are here in person today at the meetings, but when you're with somebody for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, and you're doing all of these activities together, you're learning together, it really builds bonds that will last a lifetime. So I really encourage you to go to Family Reunion. It's going to be in February.
and it's going to be in Las Vegas, very close for us. You could drive there, fly there. But that experience is different because you're going to be going to classes. So with Mega Camp, you're in a big auditorium with Gary Keller interviewing the top producers of the company, right? People that are sharing their knowledge, the way they do business. And then with Family Reunion, you're actually going to breakouts where people are teaching about technology, about production, about how they became the #1 agent in their market. So it's really a great experience. And that's the thing I always take back is I really bonded with, the people that went, and it was an amazing experience.
Aw, thank you, Dougie. How about you guys? Anything else you want to share in your notes? I've got a couple more things, but I want to give you guys a chance. Anything else you want to share?
40 minutes, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I forgot about my other big takeaway was COVID that I came back with. That's terrible. But and just to add to what Doug said, I would encourage you guys to go. The way I see it is, it's about $1,500 to $1,800 all in. With the ticket, with the flights and hotel, and cheaper if you share with people. Budget that into your business at the beginning of the year as something. So I've budgeted Family Reunion. I budgeted all at the beginning of the year. So I look at that as an expense, obviously something that you can write off. But if you look at, and I success leaves behind clues. So I just looked at the top agents. They were really investing in education and learning from others. And if there's anybody that I want to learn from, it's other agents. You want to learn from them. Look, Gary's great. You'll learn a lot from him. You'll also learn a ton from the agents on the panels. And so I would encourage you guys to go. I mean, it is definitely a lot of fun, but you are investing in your business. I've so much of the stuff that we've implemented in our business, we've actually learned from all the past mega camps, a lot of it. So I would encourage you guys to do that.
That's great. Thank you, Richard. I've got some more stuff to share, you guys. They talked a lot about farming, which was great. But they had this quote that I thought was so apropos. Farming isn't something that you do, it's a way of life. And if you guys are hardcore farmers in your business and it's something that you're implementing in your lead generation strategy, it's a way of life, right? We talked about that it's like you need to show up in your farm. You need to physically be there yourself. If you're hiring people to go drop off flyers, great. You still physically need to be there at least once a month, right? It's about being intentional, and that's why it's a completely different way of life. One thing I took away from the Resi-mercial conversation, because they did have a great commercial panel. So if you guys are commercial agents in the room, don't feel like you're getting left out of these big events. Definitely you'll have more educational support in Family Reunion because they'll have more panels. But all of you residential agents out here should be using this phrase, which is, we are a full service brokerage. I'm a full service agent, right? Just because you don't do commercial doesn't mean that Alice isn't going to do a great job helping them, right? Or does it mean that Jason isn't going to do a great job? You can pass them along. You can give them a referral. They can coach you to work it on through. You guys can partnership it together. But if we're not putting that into the atmosphere that we're full service, you could be losing out on potential income in the commercial sector. Do you follow me? So we're a full service brokerage. Use those words. And then the last one I'm going to leave you guys with, even though I have a ton of notes, come see me afterwards if you guys want to talk about it. Great salespeople, great entrepreneurs choose their customers. That was from Phil M. Jones. Again, great salespeople, great entrepreneurs actually get to choose their model and choose their customers.
But not on the protected classes on the fair housing.
But not on the protected house of the fair class. Of course. Anything else, you guys? Anything else you want to share, takeaways, things like that? Come see me after. Okay, you guys, round of applause. Thank you very much to our panel. Awesome. Thank you. You can actually pass that on to James. Come on up here, James. What do you have for us? What do you have for us?
So everyone, as real estate agents, what is our primary function?
To close transactions.
No. No, what are we supposed to be doing every day?
Lead generating.
Lead generation, exactly. So what distinguishes one agent from another, how much business they have, is how much they lead generate, how they capture the lead, how they process their lead, and how they convert it. So I was thinking there was like 5 levels. You got to figure out which level you're in to improve your business. The first level, level 1, which is probably the weakest level, You may run into a lead, buyer or seller who wants to do business, but rather than getting the information, you just give them the business card and expect that lead to call you. That's the weakest level, okay? Second level, you write that lead's information on a piece of paper, okay? And you set that paper aside. You probably will lose that paper. You probably will forget about it. That's the second level. Third level, you might write it on your phone, okay? And when you write it on your phone, it's going to get lost among all the contacts that you have on your phone. You may forget about that lead. The fourth level is you take it and you put it in your database. But again, it could be lost among all the others because you don't have a proper system of following up with that database. The fifth level, which is the optimum level, you put it in your database and you have a systematic approach of following up with that leads, based on categories. So think of what level you're in and try to improve. Go to the fifth level if you can, but definitely don't do, 1 or 2. So that was my take. I just wanted to share it with you.
That's great. Thank you. Good reminder, James. Thank you very much. You can go ahead and pass that on to Simon. I don't know where Simon. Okay. Come here, Simon.
Hi, sorry about that.
You're good.
Putting out some fires already.
It's okay. Best broker ever. You guys, can we just please give a round of applause with all the changes and things like that have been put in place? Simon is keeping his cool and taking it in stride. So what do you have for us today, Simon?
Well, go ahead and pull your phones out. And again, this is all part of Zip Forums, but I wanted to have a kind of conversation. And it's so funny because Stefan and I, a couple of days ago, we were talking, man, you've been in the trenches, you've been fighting hard, you've been under a lot of pressure with all these new changes, and you're still cool and collect. The inside is chaos. The outside is cool and collect, okay? The inside is a whole different parameter, guys. But there's a lot of confusion around leases and tenants, housing providers and tenants, okay? What are housing providers? Those are the landlords. Those are the owners that own properties, all right? So as much as we all know the buyer representation agreement, the BRBC, there's a form when representing tenants, and that form is the tenant representation and broker compensation agreement, better known as TRBC, okay? I've been getting a lot of agents calling me hey, do we use the BRBC when working with a tenant? The answer is no, you use this form here, okay? It's pretty similar to the BRBC. It has some of the same components as the BRBC, but it's not as detailed as a buyer agreement. Make sense? Okay, it's a tenant. You're not going to make much money on a compensation, and it's usually month to month or a lease. Okay, so the tenant agreement is 2 pages long. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to go deep into it. I encourage you, if you're working with tenants, working with housing providers, meaning landlords, you want to make sure that you understand the components, okay? So it talks about representation, period, beginning and expiration date. It talks about what type of property, locations, any additional descriptions, any additional tenant preferences. What are they looking for? Are they looking for a 2-story? Are they looking for a rental with a pool, right? One that is not close to the major highways. Whatever the case may be, you can put that as part of the agreement. Next slide. All right. Obviously, we're all aware that all commissions are negotiable, right? All commissions are negotiable. Under Section D1, it goes amount of compensation for a fixed term lease. You can check either a percentage or a flat fee, right? Typically, what are compensations when it comes around leases? Does anyone know?
It's just
200?
a flat fee usually we see.
Okay, we see flat fees, but we also see
Sometimes a
a
percentage
total,
of the
total percentage of revenue that particular home generates in a 1 year, and then you subtract the 2.5 or 3%. Okay, that would be your commission. So flat fee or percentage as well. Sure.
So with dealing with another agent, this form is not an issue, but I gotten some pushback from property management companies. Do we require that they sign this since they're representing the owner or?
Who's representing the owner? The
Property management company. If I'm representing the tenant and they push back and say, we have our own forms, we don't do that.
Okay, that's a very good valid point. If they're utilizing their specific forms, then we have to abide by those terms. Otherwise, they may decline from them utilizing our firms and accepting the tenant, right? So if they're working with a property manager, they have specific forms, then in order for your tenant to be able to get accepted, then we have to use their forms. We try to push, right, the zip forms, but sometimes property managers create their own forms. We have to just kind of go in that direction.
Really quickly, Simon, let's
Yeah.
just clarify. So this needs to be signed and executed before we go show anyone any rental properties, just as if the BRBC in a residential
That's
transaction,
correct. From the tenant, but she's
Totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that people knew that this was not optional. Okay, thank you. Yeah, great. Thank
Remember,
you.
folks, when
Thank you.
working with any potential clients, right, your up city, if you guys are utilizing up city, right? Anyone that is looking to rent a place, you must have an agreement in place, okay? And this will satisfy that requirement with all the new changes. Okay, then it goes into payment received by the broker
Drake's
for
got a
housing
question.
providers. Yes, Drake, he'll be my last one. And then all of the components of compensation to broker, advisory, broker rights to compensation, tenant signs, broker information, and that creates the buyer representation. Drake.
See, I just realized that I forgot to tell the bucket earlier. I wanted to fill Simon's bucket because.
Oh, that was so cute. Aww.
Yeah, and I got completely confused, and Simon answered.
Thank you, Drake. I appreciate that.
We love our Simon. Thank you. It was a drunk text. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Drake. All right, next slide. All right, now, how do you get paid, right? So remember, no difference than when working with the buyer, right? The MLS has removed, right, the compensation on the MLS, right? Well, guess what? Leases also fall under that category. You're not going to see compensation. So in order for you to submit your request for compensation coming from the house provider, meaning the landlord, then you submit the lease rental commission agreement. Okay, it's a one-page, very self-explanatory, but this is similar to the SBB form. When submitting an offer, you're going to create this form as a submission with the application and also including compensation that you are requesting from the landlord, owner of the property. Yes. No. If you already executed a lease agreement, then you're 100%, your client is already going to get, most likely you're already going to get that commission from prior. So this is anything moving forward now, okay, because the MLS doesn't have compensation. So again, it's pretty self-explanatory. Housing provider information, the street address, who you represent. Are you representing the housing provider, the tenant agreement? And then it goes into categories. Broker may retain compensation due from the housing provider for any first money, advance rentals, and security deposits. And there is where you're going to put the amount that you are requesting as part of compensation. So this is the submission that you're going to use in order for compensation. If it's a flat fee that was already agreed upon, or if a percentage of the total annual income, you know, subtracting the percentage will calculate your compensation. Okay.
That's great.
And that's pretty much it. Any questions? Yes, sir.
If you have a veteran that falls under Section 8 that comes and you sign this agreement with a tenant,
but he doesn't have any representation. And I guess you can just sign him up and representing him on the other side as well.
That is correct. And you may be in that parameter where you find and identify a property outside of the MLS that someone is selling or renting their place. So you can represent both in the submission of an application, which is totally different. I just want to be crystal clear, totally different than working with the buyer and working with the seller, right? There's certain documentations when working with buyers and sellers, but then when working with renters and house providers, it's a little bit less paperwork, but obviously you also get less compensation as well. Cool.
Great.
All right.
You guys mark your calendars next week. Simon's going to be the main speaker at the team meeting and doing a brief overview about all the changes. So make sure you guys show up with smiles in hand. I think it'll make everyone happy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Simon, very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Best broker around. All right, Sarah, good to see you. You missed it. Everyone was giving you all. Can you hand that, Simon? Can you hand that microphone to Sarah? Everyone was giving you bucket fills at the beginning of the meeting and shout outs and
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I have a class literally after this meeting, Life of an Escrow. I kind of want to go over what I'm seeing in escrow now that things have changed. I noticed, like I said, there's so many details now in the contract that agents aren't, I think, paying attention to, like when it comes to marking a box or filling out a blank line. And then I have to go back to follow up. We need addendums, we need amendments. I have a file right now. I think I'm on addendum like 7 and we just opened. So I think it's just so important that we're all reading the contract, paying attention to the details, or having your TC, you know, I don't know if they're helping you, making sure those details are marked and everything's cleared up. I would say the best thing right now is to get in the habit of, when you open escrow, give us your commission agreements. All the escrow classes I've been taking, the meetings I've been going to, everyone is talking about trying to get these agents, getting realtors to provide us what your commission agreements are, so we have them in writing. And then there's no question on who's paying what commission. We are updating our software system to make sure there's a new form for the buyer to sign commission instructions. So you'll be seeing those too when they come across. It's almost like we're going to have multiple versions of it though, because if we have a buyer that's only paying a portion, the seller's paying a portion, I got to show that on one form, but then the seller's paying yours and like another portion on another side. So it might get confusing, but just keep that in mind. Just pay attention to the details is all I can say. Please come to my class today. I'd love to go over it. I also love to hear what you guys are experiencing. I'm happy to help you. Use me as a resource. Net sheets, title, you know, we work closely together to kind of prep your listings before you open, so we know what city reports, what documents. Someone today told me they have a mechanics lien on a one, I think you know about. Things we need to clear that if you open a 17-day escrow, we might not be able to make it. I have seen a lot of people opening escrow with lenders trying to do 17 to 21 days. And I have, like for right now, I have a file that's supposed to close on the 30th. And the buyers just told me that 2 of them are in Northern California, 2 of them are in Southern California. So they have to sign the same set of loan docs and we still don't have loan docs. So it's not closing on time. So just make sure we're all communicating. We're all on the same page. Make sure you know so you're in time when you close escrow. So, thank you.
That's
Thanks, guys.
awesome. Thanks, Sarah.
Oh, sorry. I think Richard has a question.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Richard, what do you have? And then Kevin.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Come on up. Come on up. And just kind of hold this as for the Zoom meetings, so they can hear you.
Yeah. So, no, so when I went to a seminar, they actually had CAR attorneys there that were saying that we should be including all commission for everybody to sign. But now they've changed it. CAR is telling escrow, but we just had them on another Zoom meeting recently, and they're now saying that each party is going to sign their own instructions of what they're paying. So we're not sharing it with either side on commission. You're only going to see what you're paying. But I am going to show, like, if the buyer's only paying like 0.5% and the seller's paying 2%, I want to show both buyer and seller that
Right.
they're splitting this fee. So that's why you're going to see multiple kind of versions probably of commission instructions, so that we can see that's 2.5% being paid by both sides. Does that make sense? But the closing statements are always separate. The seller can never see the buyer can never see the sellers. Has to remain separate. I will say that unfortunately, most lenders will put the commission on the CDs, on the buyer's CDs, so that the buyer's agent can see it, the buyers can see it. I have a lot of times people ask me, how did they find out what I'm making for commission? Well, the lenders will put it on the closing disclosure, unfortunately, so then it gets disclosed to the buyer and the buyer's agent. So that's not in my control, but just so you guys know. Yeah. I literally had a lender, we sent them an estimate, it just a brand new escrow, and the first thing she wrote back is, what are the commissions? She wanted to put it on the CD, so it's just a lender's thing, unfortunately. Beware
Okay.
that.
Thanks, Sarah. Stick around for Sarah's class after the team meeting. Kevin, what do you guys got for us?
I'll be the buffer between Alex who has to answer those questions.
Yeah.
So, greatest thing, again, I say this all the time, but greatest thing about being a title person is you get to go to all the offices and you see how these things are playing out. Don't be afraid, guys. Okay. This is much more on our tongues because this is our life than it is in the consumer. Okay.
Yep.
And the one thing that is really working well is the communication between the agents. You guys are going to have to be nice to each other. You're going to have to call the listing agent. They're going to have to pick up the phone. They're going to have to be gracious to you. These are good things. Okay. And that is what's happening.
Penny.
That is the one. Penny McCann.
It's this thing called a phone call. It's amazing.
And you know, it really seems to be working, and we haven't really had as many blips as we thought we were anticipating. So good news. Something again, title, you have enough to worry about on your side. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview. We will be looking more and more clearly at fraud, not wire fraud. You guys don't have to worry about that. That's on the title companies. Forgery. Here's what we're seeing. And now NAR and CAR have gotten involved. So title companies are now the first step in elder abuse. We are responsible for that. We must report it. We have to do extra steps. Not your problem, our problem. But I'm going to tell you what happened to me on Thursday. Okay. We are closing Friday morning. Signatures come in. There's the mother who's still alive, and then the daughter who's acting on mom's behalf. Somehow during the course of the escrow, nobody ever saw the daughter's driver's license. They signed the documents in the escrow company, but there's no record of anyone seeing their driver's license. And the signatures were way off. So Thursday night, we want the mother and the daughter to sign an additional document and send over their driver's license or some identification, right? People are screaming all names that I've been called before. It's fine. So we closed, but we hold all the proceeds. Buyer goes in, everybody's cool. Wrong sister. One sister was pretending to be the other sister because the other sister was out of the country and the money wasn't going to happen for another 30 days. During the course of the entire transaction, okay, I'm Mario Torres. Really? Are you? So my thing, this is interfamily stuff, guys. This is going to come up. So if you ever feel that something is a little nefarious,
yes.
And here's what I am going to say. The minute they start calling me names, that means they're way invested and there's something wrong. Okay. So I'm gonna be more on that. Not your problem, but just like in sexual harassment, if you feel something's off, it's off. Send me a text. We'll look into it. We'll handle it. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin.
Can I say one more thing?
Thank you. Yeah.
We have a caravan that we do. So it's Buena Park, Cypress, West Garden Grove, Los Al, every Wednesday, 9 o'clock. If you have any interest, go. It's quick. It's a real caravan. You just go to each house, you lock it up, you go to the next one. We're out in an hour.
That's awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you, Kevin. Brandy, what do you have for us, my dear?
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. So a couple things. I just want to remind you guys, these are what service call fee gift certificates look like. This one's for you, Penny, actually. So you can always get one of these from me at the close of escrow to give as a closing gift on your behalf. It's a $90 value. So it's something that's free for you to give. Also, Drake, this would apply to you. We have these for veterans now. So they have a really cute American flag. I don't know if you describe the American flag as cute, but there's a flag on there. It's very patriotic. That's the word. So if you want those for like your Homes for Heroes or anyone like that, for any veterans, we can definitely get those for you. And I just really quick want to tell you guys a Leisure World story. Does this really work? Because I don't feel
It's not in the
anything.
room. It's all on
okay,
Zoom.
Okay.
It's all
I'm
for
like-
our Zoomies.
I
If you
feel like
can't,
I
don't
should
hold
feel-
it. If you don't hold it, they can't hear you.
I feel like I should feel something coming back
You're
at
fine.
me. Okay.
No.
Oh, and welcome, Brandy. We have the highest concentration of Brandies at any office. I
There's
feel
a
like,
lot.
right?
And it's like a Y or an I.
Yeah, we all spell it creatively. So
I'm waiting for the EE.
yeah, that's what we need next. Anyhow, I want to tell you guys a Leisure World story. I got a call the other day from one of my competitors that used to cover the Seal Beach area. Now she's out in the desert. And she said, Brandy, one of my longtime friends wanted to use me for home warranty, but we don't do Leisure World home warranties. Can you help her out? And so I called her up to help her out, and she didn't know anything that was going on, what a Leisure World home warranty or anything like that is, which is to be expected from the homeowner. It's not to be expected from the realtor. The realtors on each side did not know anything about Leisure World, but they were doing a Leisure World transaction. So then she said to me, she's like, Brandy, actually, I just got something from the listing agent. Do you know their name? No. And they sent me a home warranty from this other company. And I was like, read me the name of the company. Still not a Leisure World home warranty. She's like, well, I think I should be fine now. I was like, do you know who the other agent is? So I call my people at Leisure World. It was neither one of these agents were Leisure World agents. So nobody knew that you needed a special Leisure World home warranty. Does everybody know that here? I feel like this office is versed enough to know that there's a special home warranty for Leisure World. Okay. And there's two. We're the only Leisure World approved one that have been doing it the longest. So it was because I knew agents over there and how to see the listing and all that stuff, we were able to figure it out. But if my competitor friend had not called me and didn't get me involved, they would not have known, and they would have had a useless home warranty on their property. Okay. And that's what it is. It is not the same thing. It's not going to have the same coverages. So just a friendly reminder. I know the common complaint with Leisure World is they're not the most friendliest, and they're not as helpful when you ask questions and stuff. But this is a perfect case scenario as to why. They expect people to kind of have a basic understanding of how Leisure World works. And if you don't, get the referral, or, call me, bring me in, because I know who to call and what to do and make sure that happens. So just anytime you have a Leisure World listing, please call me so I can make sure you have the right coverage and the right things on that. Okay. So some seasoned Leisure World agents the other day, we traded at the end of the day, it was 25 emails because one of the agents still did not understand quite which one to order, what was covered, what was not. Leisure World, Laguna Woods are two different things. There's a place called Landmark in Huntington Beach. That's not Leisure World. That's your regular condo plan. So there's a lot of intricate things in it. So we just don't want to end up with a homeowner that does not have coverage in place. Okay. All right, guys.
That's
make it a great
awesome. Thanks,
day.
Brandy. You can pass
Okay.
it on off to Alex. Thank you, Brandy. And great reminders. Great reminders. Alex, what do you have for us?
Hi, everybody. Rates keep going down. Yay, 6% on the conventional, 5.49 on the FHA, still 6.5 on the jumbo. But yeah, as you can see, the government rates are really good. So anyone that kind of closed, I would say in the fall of last year up until spring of this year, and they did a government loan, VA, FHA, they can streamline and save themselves some money. So talk to those clients that that used a government loan that closed, again, fall of last year to about spring of this year. And they can do a really easy refi, really, really easy refi. These are about as low as they've been since December of 23. I did one loan in the 5s that year, and that was at the end of 23. So we are there. So yeah, flaunt it, get it out there. Thank you.
Alex, I've got a good question for you because people have been asking me on the brokerage side. So if someone's getting pre-qualified and we have a buyer broker agreement that states that they're going to be compensating X,
Yeah.
is it important for you as a lender to know that knowledge?
It is.
Okay,
I was going to touch on that. I actually
perfect.
last week didn't mention it, but for us, when we disclose the file at the beginning of the loan, we have to put, if the buyer's paying the commission to you guys, we have to put it on our disclosures. It's super duper important, because if we don't tell them they got to pay $25,000, we can't come back and then add it later. So it's really incumbent on all of you at the beginning of the transaction to tell us, me, Mike, whatever lender you're using, that, hey, the buyer is paying this compensation so that we can put it on our disclosures. We can also put a seller credit to counterbalance it, which is the first one that I'm doing right now is buyers paying, but sellers crediting it back. But we have to know that number. It's like, if you don't disclose that there's a big termite report inspection fee that we then come back, you can't make the buyer pay for something that you don't tell them in the beginning what they could have to pay for. Okay, very, very important. So, and if I get told at the beginning of it, right, in my pre-approval, I can
Yes.
just note my file, and then if something slips your mind because you got 1,000 things to worry about, I already got it in place.
And then that way during negotiations too, if the seller is offering concessions or is offsetting that cost at all, it's doing nothing but going down for your buyer, right?
Totally.
So it's like worst case scenario, here's what your numbers are going to be. Best case scenario, this number's down by X% or
And
X.
that's how I like to work.
Yeah.
Right? I like to
Way better.
under promise, over deliver is the way that you say that. Thank you.
Way better.
We have to put that, we should put that as a default, right? That the buyer's gonna pay. Because we don't know if the seller's gonna pay until we get into negotiation.
Good question. So I think that is a broker question. So we'll confirm with Simon, but generally speaking, is he still here? Okay, great. Generally speaking though, Stefan, I think the important part is the fact that if we have a buyer or broker agreement that states a specific amount, that information needs to be given to the lender at some point, because right now it's not, it hasn't gone that way. And y'all have had a lot of questions about it. But Simon, do you have any clarity about that? Yeah, that's why I said I think he's gonna be able.
I'll give a client a mock-up beginning, right? I've showed you that. It says, hey, this is what your payment looks like. This is what your out-of-pocket looks like. I would love to be able to put on that, if you think that they're going to be paying you, what that will be. And then I have a little line item in there. It's an Excel sheet that they can plug in a seller credit. So once you go and you find the specific house and they, okay, let's look at your numbers on this house, they can come back into my spreadsheet and plug in seller credit, offset buyer's compensation. Okay.
Yes.
So, but it doesn't matter for me until you're actually in contract. My disclosures don't really go out until it's a full-fledged deal. Okay.
You just want to make sure it's on the pre-qualification. Does that make sense? Yeah. Richard.
You guys need open escrow. You guys need the last page of the buyer broker agreement.
Good question. What's the
I
best way to
don't.
share that with you? So like if you have a buyer broker agreement, what's the best way to share it with you?
I just require page 10 of the contract, and then the only one that I've done, this is new, so maybe they will. The current deal that I'm working on, it was on the counter. Just like buyer to be paying buyer's agent, seller crediting buyer set amount. And that worked. That deal is going to docs here. So
That's great. Thank you.
but I think the biggest takeaway is letting me know, do
Yes.
not forget. Like, let me know who's paying what.
Just reiterating.
Yes. Yes.
You can't change that, right? If it's not there.
You can't add it.
Right.
They may like let us add it because it's brand new, but typically
They
we
wouldn't.
can't come back and add 25 grand to the closing costs.
So it
after
could be
we've
a
already
costly
said,
mistake for
yeah,
you.
what it was.
Yeah, could be a costly mistake for you,
We
right?
can take it away. We can always lower it, but we can't add to it.
Thank you.
So very important. I think that's enough for today.
Yeah, sorry to
Yeah.
your talking though. I had a lot of questions about that over this last week. Thank you, Alex. Again, if you guys have any more questions about this, clarity, please go talk to Alex. Go talk to our peeps here in the office because they're here to help support you and they can help explain it too. If you have specific instances and scenarios, they've always been so helpful. So thank you, Alex. Let's take a look at our training and events. You guys, just a reminder, we're going to be closed on Labor Day in observance to our laborers. The front door, you can still access with your key fob. You guys can still come and go as you'd like, but you're not going to see our bright sunshine summer there right at the front. So just so you know, on Monday, we're closed. Life of an Escrow. Sarah has that class right afterwards. Make sure you stick around. We have the rescheduled best open house strategy you'll ever see with Richard Chung. You guys do not miss that. That is tomorrow from noon to 1. Creativity Inc. You guys are meeting too soon. Can anyone still show up and come and partake in the good chat and learning and wine and great. It's still a really good book. And you're going to be talking about the next book too. So it's a good way to kind of get on the train for the next months too. Right? Simon has his contracts class, open house, Q&A, talking about that.
By the way, thank you so much. We've been seeing a lot of participation on Zoom, so thank you for all of you who have participated. I know last week we had more of a role play type of segue with the biorepresentation agreement. So thank you again, guys, for jumping on those calls.
Awesome. Thank you, Simon, for putting that on. That's this Friday at, and it's good to just mark your calendar for that because every Friday he does a session like this about contracts. How to avoid legal issues in today's market. You guys, this is going to be on Zoom. We just put this together September 4th on Wednesday at 2:30, all on Zoom with Laura Peterson, who is the head of RERM, which is our legal department that helps all of your clients and all of you wonderful agents here hop on that training because I think she's going to go over many key important factors in the lawyer's perspective of everything that's going on right now. So make sure you guys mark your calendars. Again, the Reimagine Expo is coming up before you know it. Come join us. Scan that QR code and register. It is at no cost to you if you guys are a CAR member. It costs you nothing. There's only a couple paid days. That's mainly for brokers if you guys want to partake in that. Again, same really good sessions on both days. But really fun expo floor too. You guys can stop by and say hi to me at the booth. We have our scripted and role play, just a reminder, always a really good group for the team meetings and on Zoom with Richard Chung and his group. And besides that, thank you guys very much. Make sure you go back there, enjoy some cake to celebrate for our bolds, and stick around for Sarah's class at 1:30.
Hey, Hallie, I have a question for you.
Yes, Gina.
I didn't see a link for Sarah's class at 1:30. Is there gonna be, or?
Yes, it's going to be on Zoom, and it's going to be the same link that you're on right now.
Okay, so just click on that again.
Yep, we are going to end the meeting. That way it ends the recording, and then we're going to get it set right back up, Gina.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you so much.
Awesome. You're welcome. Yeah. There you go.